My mother's longtime best friend has been my aunt for as long as I can remember. When I was nearly an adult, she moved near us from a foreign country, and her son started attending my school. From day one, he seemed to think he was dating me. My aunt and mother both pressed on about how sweet it would be if we were Victoria's childhood friends. When we didn't date in high school and went to college, this chatter went away. The truth is, I barely knew this guy. We played together on beach vacations as little kids because we were the only kids in a group of buzzed adults. He wasn't even a great playmate, but as we got older, it was more and more apparent to at least me that he had some sort of issue. My own theory, albeit an armchair theory, is that he's autistic and hasn't gotten any therapy or treatment to help him navigate the world. Anyway, my mom had a barbecue a few weekends ago, and I came with my boyfriend. My aunt came with her son. After my boyfriend and I sat down, my aunt came over and asked who my friend was. I explained he was my new boyfriend. She sighed and asked how I could do this to her son. My response was along the lines of, "What?" She then launched into how she understood we were on a break, but showing up at a party with my revenge guy was a low blow, especially since everyone knew we'd get back together. It wasn't fair to my flavor of the month to pretend I was available, and she knew how hung up I was on her son. I know this sounds insane the way I put it, but she seemed so genuine that it was very convincing. My boyfriend was visibly shocked. I had no idea where this came from, so I said, "Auntie, Sonny and I have never dated." I took him to one casual dance as a kindness. I don't know what he's told you about our relationship, but the reality is we say hi on Facebook sometimes. She accused me of saving face in front of my boyfriend. He left and I freaked out. I told her very loudly that this is psycho, that I am not and never have dated her son, and that he's really, truly, utterly undateable. I don't know a single girl who would date this boy. She just assumed that I'd go along with this crazy narrative that would somehow insulate her from dealing with that reality, but I wasn't going to. So then I left and was lucky enough to catch my boyfriend before he left, so I had a ride home. I wasn't screaming that my aunt's son was undateable. I did not scream. And in fact, several people at the party didn't even know there was a commotion. While I was loud, we were also close to a table full of sorority sisters that make up my mom and aunt's friend group. Also, he really is undateable. I've tried to help him set up profiles, and I've even tried to set him up on a date with a few of my friends who I think might really get along with him, but it's been a disaster. She and my mother sent me emails explaining that she was humiliated in front of her longtime friends, that I had no business saying that in public to her. I can see now that it would have been better to pull her into the kitchen or the house and explain this to her, since I now think it's possible her son was feeding her lines. She was really shocked, and I did say some hard things. But in that case, didn't she owe me a trip to the kitchen to call me out on my infidelity? Am I the idiot? LOL, what? Not the idiot. She is openly trying to sabotage your relationship doing this, because in her mind, you're somehow betrothed to her son. Even if the kid wasn't autistic, you're not interested. And this isn't the Middle Ages where you arrange marriages. In her culture, arranged marriages happen, and the kids just go along with it in many cases. So I wonder if in her world we were going to sow wild oats and then follow the script. Just wow, not the idiot. She said those things publicly and got called out on it. So maybe she really thought OP was dating her son. But honestly, how could she believe that? From this story, it sounds like OP didn't live at home and Auntie doesn't see her at all. Curious to know if she's being fed a story by her son or just made it up on her own. Perhaps this woman is just delusional. Jesus, she was humiliated? She was saying that you already had a boyfriend in front of your actual boyfriend, and she dares say she's the one humiliated? Even if everything she said was true, that still would have been completely out of line for her to accuse you of cheating right in front of your boyfriend, since none of it is any of her business. She could have taken you aside to discuss the misunderstanding privately. Instead, she decided to blow up at you in public. She deserves the blowback. I guess she felt she had to publicly say those things because she'd already told those friends of hers this continuing fantasy about her son and OP. Humiliated suggests rather more than being debunked, than just what she'd said right then, which she could have blamed on misunderstanding something. While OP didn't hear the chatter about this once she went to college, it could have still been something the aunt kept doing with her friends. Ugh. Update. Am I the idiot for humiliating my aunt by saying I never dated her son? My grandmother got a hold of me this afternoon to let me know that there is much more to this story. My auntie is from the US. She is not from a foreign country with a foreign culture. It's a lie she made up in college to seem more interesting. My mom has been in on the lie from day one. Even my dad didn't know my auntie was actually the same girl who grew up a few doors away from my mom. This is a big problem because my auntie runs an ethnic group business where my mom is employed. So now this is in legal territory. As for Sonny, I really don't know what he believes, but I suspect that his mom cooked up our relationship and was hoping that after my future divorce, I'd make her betrothed from birth declaration play out, which would of course reinforce her fake persona. I think the takeaway here is my aunt came up with a pretend persona, and she somehow felt if she could get me to respect her culture by getting me to marry her son, then she'd be validated. It's weird. Don't ask for it to make a lot of sense because it just doesn't. OP, your auntie had every intention of making a spectacle out of the situation. You should not have been expected to be the mature one in the situation when this woman was clearly manipulative and itching for some kind of showdown the minute you showed up with your boyfriend. God, I hate these types of adults. Auntie is seriously delusional, and it seems your mother supports her in this. You are not the idiot, but it would seem sensible to keep your distance. Someone who finds no problem creating a false persona at college and sticking to it for so many years is not the most stable of people. I think the issue isn't just that she's not from that country. She's not from that ethnic group at all. Like, she's pretending to be of a different ethnicity and promoting her business as an ethnic group owned, which will affect her credibility in that community and generally when it comes out. Yes, this woman is downright crazy, lying about several serious things for that purpose and inserting herself in things she has no business being a part of. She humiliated you and was awful about your boyfriend right in front of him, and you snapped back. Even for the little bit of nasty you dished, she's still the biggest idiot. I think a bit of background may be required for this one. I, 60 female, have 2 sons and a daughter. The people in question here are Dave, 35, and his wife, Liz, 29. Basically, I have a relationship with Dave, but none at all with Liz. Dave was married before and had 2 little children with his ex-wife, Cassie. Unfortunately, Cassie unexpectedly died 2 weeks before Dave and Liz's wedding. Liz and I had a falling out over the children attending the wedding. They said they did not want to attend, and Liz demanded they be in the wedding, despite having just lost their mother, and could have stayed with Cassie's parents that day. Dave gave in to Liz's demand, and the kids attended, and as Liz says, ruined the wedding when they refused to walk down the aisle, and then cried at the reception. I defended my grandchildren's behavior because they were grieving, and Liz was very angry that I did not try harder at the wedding to get them to behave. They were in my care for the day. After the wedding, Cassie's parents and my husband and I started taking our grandchildren more often because they did not want to be at Dave and Liz's house. My son works long hours, so they would mostly have to be with Liz. Liz does not like that we pick up our grandkids when they call us, and maybe we are undermining her parenting. Still, she does often fail to cook dinner, take them to therapy or after-school activities. She is now expecting a baby in November and will be having a baby shower in a few weeks. I was not invited, but have not told any of my extended family about the issue with Liz or the fact that I was not attending because I feel like my family is also Dave's family and form their own opinions. Recently, word got out that I would not be there. I'm not sure how, and family started questioning. Finally, the reason got out there, and my family is now angry with both Dave and Liz. They refused to attend the baby shower, and I guess the guest list went from over 60 to under 20. Liz and family have decided they are fine with this because they do not have to pay for as many guests. But now Liz has called my daughter and demanded that we, daughter and I, host a shower for her, and she might stop by if she's feeling up to it, but will come pick up the gifts after the shower to show the family that we are all on good terms. Not actually true. I might be the idiot because we declined, and now that people know we are estranged, I am sort of happy that I don't have to pretend to like her anymore. Not the idiot. Your daughter-in-law sounds super entitled. Who the heck demands a baby shower from anyone? Yikes. She made 2 grieving children go to a wedding 2 weeks after their mom died, and then got upset that they were crying at the wedding? The real question is, why doesn't the father protect his own children from this woman? Yes, he is an enabler to all of her inappropriate actions. I am most disgusted that he forced the kids to attend the wedding instead of dropping Liz. He chose Liz over the well-being of the kids. Both of them should not have custody of the kids. I hope OP can get custody of the grandkids. Not the idiot. Daughter-in-law's toxic, and she's going to withhold the grandchild something mighty. Your grandchildren need a safe space, especially as she and your son welcome what will certainly become the High Reverend baby favorite child. They will feel totally abandoned and unwanted. She will probably demand all the attention beyond the infant and get angry that the youngest is not the priority for everyone. Well, Dave forced them into it. OP is exhibiting classic catty behavior, blaming Liz instead of her son, who she says only gave in. OP is also undermining their family unit by showing up and taking the kids. Sounds like Liz really wants to be a family unit, and OP is getting in the way. So it's everyone's the idiot. Everyone's the idiot here. You raised your son. When does he start to take responsibility here for neglecting his kids? She is horrible, but just because she's their stepmom doesn't mean she's supposed to be mom to his kids. You sound like you were putting it all on her, when the damage done to the children was because of the choices he made. This happened years ago, but it's still brought up by my parents. I, 24 female, am the youngest daughter, with my sisters being Lynn, 29, and Gia, 27. Ever since I was young, I always felt like my sisters were treated differently. Since they were closer in age, they did everything together. Ice skating lessons, horseback riding lessons, etc. Meanwhile, I was always on the sidelines watching them, like literally. I'd sit wherever they were and just watch them. My parents claimed I was too young to do those things, but I quickly learned that they probably just didn't want to have to drive me somewhere else, or didn't want to spend the money to enroll me either. I also became in charge of taking care of my sisters, being that I had to make sure that everything for their lessons was packed, or they ate/packed their lunch, even though I'm way younger than them. I even got yelled at by my mom once because I didn't make sure they packed lunch when I was a teen, and they were 18 and 20 years old. I was also treated like I was much older than my sisters, or the same age as them. When I was in high school, my parents liked the excitement of having their children at a new stage in life. Since my sisters are only 1 year and 10 months apart, they graduated high school and they started college within a year of each other. Meanwhile, I started high school when they both graduated, so it wasn't exciting to my parents when I was in high school or graduated high school. This brings us to where I might have been an idiot. On the day of my high school graduation, my mom kept complaining about having to attend because she already experienced it twice before, so the day had already started off bad. After we came back home from the ceremony, my dad gave me a small Tiffany & Co. bracelet gift. I was happy because I love Tiffany & Co., and it was pretty. Then my mom started getting mad because she told my dad that they agreed to buy me a pen from Tiffany's, which was cheaper than the bracelet. After all, my sister Lynn's 22nd birthday was going to be in a couple of weeks. That's when I got mad, and I started yelling about how Lynn got a brand new Porsche for her high school graduation, and Gia got a $5,000 purse for her graduation, but a $500 bracelet was too expensive for me. My mom called me an ungrateful brat and took the bracelet away from me. A couple weeks ago, I was talking about this story with my boyfriend's family. I don't talk or visit my family as much because my parents have done this a lot, and even worse sometimes. His mom mentioned that while my parents were in the wrong, it's still rude to complain about any gift, no matter how small it is in comparison. I definitely see her point, but am I the idiot? Your parents were showing obvious favoritism. If they can afford to buy one child a Porsche, they sure should be financially stable enough to gift their third daughter with something at least an equal to that, or even the purse. The fact that your mother in particular was not fond of the idea of you receiving something far less financially burdensome shows a lot of how they feel about you. It's only natural you'd lash out at one point. Your parents have issues. Instead, they should be gifting you with the nicest thing out of your sisters for all of the support you gave and the lack of attention they gave you. I'll say it once, I'll say it twice, I'll say it 1,000,000 times. You are not the idiot. It would be one thing if they gave OP the bracelet and she complained, but she wasn't going to say anything until her mother said that they were supposed to buy her something even cheaper, which is really insulting. Seriously, the mom here sucks so bad. I'm sorry OP has to deal with this nonsense. Your mother started complaining about the relative expense of the gift to your dad before you ever did, Cinderella. Not the idiot, and they were horrible to you. It makes me wonder how your dad felt. Sounds like he wanted to get you something special for once, but your mom calls the shots. I'm not saying this is factual, but I get the feeling your two sisters were planned and you were an accident. Your father loves you but does not have the spine to stand up to your mother, and your mother is the real issue. She sees you as a nuisance that they need to take care of. If I were in your shoes, I'd reach out to your dad and see if you can go for a cup of coffee with him and only him. Having a bond with your parents is precious, and maybe he can be redeemed in your eyes. My brother is working, and he asked me to take his nephews, teens, to the airport to fly to their grandparents. So I pick them up and I drive off. I then get the annoying car notification telling me their seatbelts aren't on. I told them to put the seatbelts on and they refused. I told them I don't care, it's like a $500 fine to drive a kid without a seatbelt or something in California. They kept being spoiled brats saying that they don't need to, and Dad let them not wear seatbelts. I said, I don't care. I won't drive until they wear their seatbelt. They kept whining they're going to miss their flight. I said that's their problem. They called their dad, who starts yelling at them, telling them to wear it. They do eventually, so we drive, but we get stuck in traffic and miss the flight. My brother is so mad, saying it's my fault for not just driving them. We waited about an hour before they decided to put their belt on. Am I the idiot? LOL, not the idiot. What a couple of punks. You did the right thing. You could have gotten in trouble or endangered their lives. And would your brother have paid for your ticket? Of course not. Would he be pissed at you if they got injured in the car? Of course he would. And he's a huge idiot for not making them wear their seatbelt regularly. Not the idiot. The kids were being brats, aka little idiots, and their dad is the idiot. They most definitely need to wear their seatbelts. Their dad never enforcing that is an issue, and then missing their flight is the consequence. Besides, you were the responsible adult in this situation. You weren't doing anything to put them in danger, just the opposite. They were under your care and needed to follow your rules. Hopefully they learned a lesson here. Not the idiot. They are the sole reason they missed their flight. You were simply being responsible. In addition to the fine, there's a huge safety issue at play. I'm assuming you had to take a highway. I would not imagine being on a highway without a seatbelt. I can't believe your brother's anger is so misdirected at you. 100% their fault. And OP waited for an hour for them to buckle up? At that age, you surely understand the concept of time and know that you, not the guy driving, will miss your flight. So even if seatbelts were pointless, just get over it and put them on so you can get to your flight. It isn't worth the argument. Honestly, as a kid, I was way more respectful to my aunts and uncles than I was to my parents. At the end of the day, my aunts and uncles could have just told me to buzz off home if I wasn't sticking to their rules, and they absolutely would have.